Yeah, so I just made a video before this talking about the same thing. So about false prophets and their messages. So, you know, when someone sets themselves up as a teacher, these false prophets, they obviously don't have the correct message. They're obviously not saved. They speak another message that isn't Christ, that isn't the testimony of Jesus Christ. And they're saying, what are they preaching? Well, they're saying you may not have eternal life. And what are they ultimately saying? Well, if you want to have eternal life, you need to make sure you're doing this. It's some sort of work, and it's some sort of subjective work, either literally or spiritually, like a feeling. You need to have this feeling, and if you don't have these feelings, then yeah, that's BS. So, and when somebody, Jesus says, a tree by its fruit. I think in the context of identifying false teachers, talking about false teachers, how will you know them? Well, you'll know them by their fruit. I think there's a difference between a false teacher, somebody who's, literally contradicting the testimony of Christ, than a believer who's been taken spoil and who's putting up with a false teacher. The Galatians were putting up with false teachers, and Paul was like, what are you doing? Like, put them away. And the same thing, like, if we're putting up with a false teacher who's bringing in a message that says, well, you aren't justified by belief. Like, they're ultimately saying your salvation is dependent upon you're doing something. That means they haven't believed the testimony. Like, if they say you can lose eternal life, they don't have God. They're not saved. They haven't believed the love of God. What does eternal life hinge on? Oh, it's their works. They haven't believed the testimony. And the thing is, they're teaching this, they're in this teaching this, and constantly, this is their message. It is not eternal life, it's eternal death, because you can't be sure. And that's actually not how we're saved anyway. It's through Jesus Christ. He's the life. Through receiving him. We need to be born again through receiving him, not by doing works of law. No one's saved by the law. And so, we'll know a tree by its fruit, and that's in the context of false teachers. I think that's different from your believer who's been seduced and is like totally confused now, and they're, struggling. I assume they would be struggling because they know the truth, and this other lie is conflicting, and now it's causing them some anxiety. At least that happens with me when I am taken spoil. I feel like I've been taken spoil so much. It's like, man, I want to stand firm on the truth. Like, so it's like, anyway,